One of the more sort of loathsome and contemptible features of the kind of contemporary Labour Party, where I kind of view it almost as this sort of parasite on the British left in particular, and the kind of Atlantic world centre left at large, is this idea that they are committed to changing as little as possible, ideally nothing, um, but giving it the kind of the aesthetics, the visuals of change. Um, Most recently, even the most unobservant special advisor has noticed the socials of Zoran Mamdani in New York. The point of departure there is that yes, he's very, very charismatic and articulate and has excellent social media people and excellent cinematographers with him, and the cream of the crop as far as creating viral content goes. But he also matches that with um, a radicalism that has been so lost in America, that when he finally fills in potholes and creates childcare for poor families and bus routes for working class people, all of which could easily have been done at any point, and it's a choice not to do it. That's the reason why it's not done. It's just a choice not to. That New Yorkers act with surprise and jubilation. But he also takes political risks by, for example, saying that, whilst it's not in his gift to do so, it appears now, that he would, if he could do, arrest Netanyahu if he set foot in New York. As that, I mean, that would be consistent with US law. He spent the World Cup, he went during one of the World Cup matches to Rikers Island prison and sat with prisoners who, on good behaviour, had been allowed a reward, and said openly these people are from New York, they're New Yorkers, and when they come out of prison, they'll be treated like New Yorkers again, and they will be part of our society, they will be part of our solutions going forward. And if you can imagine what that must have done for the rehabilitation prospects and the self-worth of all of those people involved. And it goes beyond kind of political maneuvering, it goes beyond ideology, it goes into the realm of basic humanity and morality. Labour Party's not going to do any of those things. I mean, good grief. Andy Burnham's videos are a horrible kind of simulacra of Mamdani's style. And this is where you get to the really depressing part of it, that you have special advisors who either say, oh, this Mamdani guy is very clever and he's done all sorts of clever things, but either they haven't paid any attention to the politics behind it, and they are interested in kind of superficial visuals and imagine that that is the key to electoral success. More and more and more gimmicks, which is kind of, I think, consistent with why the sort of the short-termism that plagues Britain. Or they've looked at Mamdani and said, well, we need to separate the two. We need the kind of the clever, appealing gimmickry, which, by the way, no one does as well as him. Because what he presents to the viewer is authenticity, because that's actually who he is. He's showing the viewers who he is, of which some people will like, some people won't. What Labour are attempting to do is to bottle that relatable, friendly, approachable, and common sense style that he has, but divorce it from any meaningful politics. In a climate crisis, Andy Burnham is considering further North Sea oil licenses. During a genocide, which, despite what he might think, a huge number of people in this country are deeply, deeply engaged with and horrified by. During a genocide, during an illegal war in Iran, Burnham has visited arms fairs where Israeli arms manufacturers have shown off the things they used to kill Palestinian children with. He has continued to allow UK air bases to be used for an illegal war on Iran, and he has said all manner of weasel words around the future of the water industry, which could be renationalised at the stroke of a pen at almost no cost at all. And again, it's a choice not to do it. Progressive and radical policies, we can have them. We absolutely can. And it's a choice not to. The whole point about the Labour Party, maybe it wasn't always like this, maybe there were moments with Attlee and Wilson perhaps. The whole point about the Labour Party is it is radicalism's kind of catch and kill party. Just as the National Enquirer was Donald Trump's scandal catch and kill tool, the Labour Party does a kind of, again, a simulacra of radicalism. It pretends that it offers radicalism. It sucks up just enough radical voters or people on the left or the centre left to make a left alternative unviable, and then sits on them for the kind of the continuance of not just the capitalist system, because the Labour Party has never been a meaningful challenge to that. Labourism is about preventing, radical working class politics. So it always amazes me that the left of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn, although now has obviously been expelled some time ago, but John McDonnell, now Diane Abbott again, go along with this. Go along with this kind of absolute fucking charade, really. With Burnham, you might get something slightly more progressive than Starmer. You might. Certainly, Burnham has made some nods towards living standards and cost of living and all that kind of stuff. The kind of real bread and butter politics that wins elections, and it's evidently better at politics than Starmer. However, what the two constituencies who will be chiefly disappointed will be obviously the actual left, looking for a more democratized and a more economically democratized society where wealth and power is shared. But also, I think chunks of the kind of liberal centre left that want to return to the EU, they will be disappointed too. Burnham is not going to, even though Burnham no doubt thinks Brexit was a stupid idea, he's not going to expend a moment's political capital, I don't believe, on meaningfully returning to the either the EU or, in shorter term, the single market. And the reason for that, I mean, at the moment, he's hired kind of Hamish Falconer to make all the right kinds of noises and said, we want a deeper relationship with the EU, but without crossing any red lines. And that's saying, once again, we would, we're going to be nicer. We're going to be less confrontational. We're going to be less belligerent than the Tories were. We're going to be, basically less incompetent and stupid. However, we're not going to do any of the things that would be necessary to undo Brexit, which is to, give the EU significantly what it wants, or to really cross any, as I presume the red lines in question are about the beginnings of actually undoing Brexit, and joining the single market, or the customs union, or starting to kind of make steps towards shared labour markets, etc., etc. And I think that Burnham is still far too frightened of the threat of Farage to do any of those things, and still deeply wed to Atlanticism as well. Because of course the great trouble that will present itself were any of these things to happen would be Trump. So things might be mildly less awful, but don't fall for any of these videos, any of these TikToks, any of this stuff at all, which is closely mirrored on Mamdani, but Mamdani without any of the politics or the basic human morality. See you later.